it's worrisome. And then knowing that, okay, there was this woman, and not to mention, so this woman who was indicted was also picked up with 2 other guys who are also facing charges. I think it's conspiracy to smuggle. And all 3 of these people are Mexican nationals who were in El Paso and are now basically being charged under this FTO designation because they were aiding a cartel that is designated as an FTO. How many more people do we think are in the United States that are doing the same thing? Whether they're Mexican nationals or not, that doesn't matter. The point is, there are people, literally, and I say this on every podcast I'm on, I say this in all of my reports, there are people that are probably in your backyard that are working for the cartels and profiting off of this extremely dangerous but lucrative business. Now, at the same time that all of this is happening in the United States, there was also a bit of controversy with diplomatic relations between US and Mexico because ICE posted a tweet showing some pictures of what was said to be 3 fentanyl lab raids in Sinaloa. And it was a combined effort between US and Mexican forces. But the way this tweet was interpreted was, I guess, for lack of better language, pretty fucked up because basically it was said that the forces conducting this operation were Mexican. However, in this photo, they looked like American forces, and it led some people to believe, and it caused this sort of like shitstorm on social media that, oh my God, American boots are on the ground in Sinaloa. And I had kind of been alluding to this, especially when I did a question and answer about so many people were asking me, is the US going to send boots on the ground in Mexico? Like, are they going to try and unravel the cartels from the homeland? And the answer is very complicated because I feel like there is a side of the US government that is completely up for that. They want to do that. They want to send these boots on the ground. They want their own forces to unravel these syndicates in Mexico because I feel like that's the only way they think they can trust the operations and for them to be properly executed. Don't get me wrong, I'm not shitting on Mexican special forces because I think that there are some great efforts and some really successful operations. But at the same time, we do see failures time and time again. And with the US really cracking down right now, it's certainly a possibility, right? So when this came out, people freaked out. So ICE issued a clarification being like, no, this was between Homeland Security, DEA, ICE to tackle these known large labs in Sinaloa, but Mexican authorities were the ones who conducted this operation. If this is the case, which we're hearing that it is, there is an ongoing bilateral effort between Mexico and the US to unravel these syndicates, to really go after the cartels. And I think it's interesting because what we have to really look at is, okay, who is on that list? Who is the US pointing out? Like, what are they going after? They want to stop the move of fentanyl. They want to unravel the cartels and weaken them. And if Mexico is on the same page, they seem to be doing that together, and it seems to be a success. Now, do I think that there are never going to be American special forces touching Mexican soil and perhaps doing some covert operations? You know, I don't want to speculate, but it's hard not to, because when we're seeing these operations go down, it's really hard not to get into this sort of rabbit hole of how much power is the US holding and how much is the US willing to risk in order to go in and take on the cartels head on. What we do know is that if something like this happens again, where there is this lack of clarity in terms of what these joint operations look like, people are going to be angry. And that includes Mexico's president, Claudia Sheinbaum, because when this all went down, in her mañanera, her morning briefings, she even questioned the legitimacy of these pictures. Does this picture match the operation? What really happened? And then Mexico's Attorney General office, who was overseeing this operation, refused to comment.